Hey guys, welcome back to another video. It's me, Meyer, and today I'm going to be teaching you, I'm going to be telling you why I switched from Fedora to Arch Linux. Now, I'm going to be telling you 4 reasons why I switched from Fedora to Arch Linux, and after that's done with, I'm going to also tell you, well, what would have to happen if I wanted to switch back to Fedora. Let's not waste any more time. Let's begin. So number one, gaming. There's actually no particular problem with gaming on Fedora. In fact, I would actually say it's one of the best distributions for gaming, as it has insane support for gaming related applications. But there are just a few applications that I've had issues with on Fedora. So let's begin. So Mango Hut. If you don't know, Mango Hut is an FPS counter like applications like MSI After. It's like Rivet Tuner on MSI Afterburner. It's really cool. I like to use it to monitor FPS. In fact, I'm using Mango Hut for the video. Like, this is just an audio recording. I'm putting this on top of my Counter-Strike gameplay, and on Counter-Strike, what you're seeing as the FPS counter is Mango Hut. So I like to use Mango Hut, but when I was on Fedora, on the GNOME version of Fedora at least, um, I kind of I installed Mango Hut via some commands, and I went on the GitHub, and it told me how to use Mango Hut on Steam games. So all I did was I went on the GitHub, I copied the command, went to Steam, I opened Steam, I right-clicked on Counter-Strike 2, and then I went to properties. I put the command in from Mango Hut. I wanted the instructions of Mango Hut, copy the command, put it in the launch command on CS2, and I exited the properties menu, and I clicked launch or play. And when I clicked play, CS2 loaded but then crashed. I decided to remove the command from I decided to remove the command from the launch commands on CS2, and once I was done removing the command, it magically launched. So I decided, oh well, Mango Hut doesn't work on Steam apps. I might have messed something up during installation, or I might have messed up when I was using Mango Hut on Steam. I don't know. But all I know is that I could not use Mango Hut, which was not that big of a deal. I mean, I could always use the Steam overlay. I don't like using the Steam overlay, but it is an option. So number 2 is DaVinci Resolve. Now you're probably wondering, Meyer, isn't DaVinci Resolve natively on, Fedora? Well, technically it isn't. It's actually just made for CentOS 7 and Rocky Linux. CentOS 7 is not a thing anymore, so really it's only for Rocky Linux. But since Rocky Linux is based on Red Hat, guess what also is based on Red Hat? Fedora. So I installed Fedora. I installed DaVinci Resolve. I downloaded .zip file from the official website. I extracted, run the .run script, got some dependencies, all that jazz. And once I was done, I could not import. I was trying to test it out to see if everything was working. So what I did was that I got a sample video from one of my older videos on the YouTube channel, and I opened it in Resolve to see if it would work. Fortunately, .mp4 files for some reason, the h.264 and h.265 codecs don't work on the free version of Resolve. I could always get Studio, but it's kind of expensive, and also I don't like to buy stuff. I mean, I'm a broke 12-year-old. What am I gonna do with? How do you think I'm gonna afford $300 worth of Studio? So I was kind of left with a thing. I either look for a alternative for a video editor, or I don't edit videos at all. I could not find an alternative video editor for Resolve. I tried Shotcut, I tried Kdenlive, nothing worked. Or at least they did work, but they were not my type. So I was like, oh well, I guess I can't, I'm just gonna post unedited videos. Now the first 2 reasons weren't that major. I mean, it could happen. I mean, to be honest, maybe I messed something up, or maybe I was too lazy to do something else. But you gotta understand that that you gotta understand that I don't have time. I wanted to get some videos. I want to edit some videos for the channel, and if I could not do that, then I would really have to, like, be kind of disappointed. So, reason number 3 is Red Hat. If you don't know, Fedora is not a community-owned distribution. It's actually just owned by a big company called Red Hat. Red Hat is known to be, one of the worst company. Like, Red Hat's known to be one of the most hated companies in the Linux space. Reason is that it's done quite a lot of bad things in the Linux community that has just made a lot of people hate it, and I'm one of those haters. One, it took CentOS. CentOS was a work related distro. I mean, it was really good at the time, but they took CentOS and made it insanely bad. They took CentOS, they threw it out the window, and then they made CentOS Stream, which is a really bad version of CentOS, and no one would actually use. Like, no work related, like, no enterprises would use it. Most people, nowadays, most enterprises use Alpine Linux or something in that knowledge, in something in that field, I should say. But, so they ruined CentOS. They also, what they also did was they are proposing that Fedora has opt-out telemetry. You gotta understand something. Linux is supposed to be known for privacy. That's one of the few reasons I switched to Linux Mint from Windows. Unfortunately, Fedora is proposing opt-out telemetry, which sure, when it's better than Microsoft, because Microsoft does baked-in telemetry on Windows 11, but you got to understand that we're just talking about Linux. We're not talking about Windows. We're not talking about a Mac. I would expect this kind of behavior from Mac OS and Windows. Even though it's bad, I would expect it from those two. Not on a Linux distribution. I don't care if you're the best distro in the entire space, or in the entire, like, if everyone agrees that you're the best distro, but you have opt-out telemetry, I'm not going to like you, and I will never use you. So, yeah. So, let's just do a bit of a summarization, shall we? We used the first three reasons is: one, there's a few bugs with Mango HUD. Two, DaVinci Resolve is kind of a pain to set up on Fedora, and three, Red Hat is just bad, and I don't like Red Hat. So what else should we do? Well, what's the fourth reason that I mentioned? And that's the AUR. The AUR, or the Arch User Repositories, is a repo made by the community of Arch Linux that has some of the best support of applications. I know Flatpak exists and all, but I don't like to use Flatpak because mainly I don't like to install Flatseal to just configure the permissions. It's kind of annoying. So I like to use I like to use package stuff from the I like to use so when I was on Fedora, I like to use .rpm files. I like to use DNF for the command for the terminal, all that jazz. And on Arch, I don't have to use. I can use the AUR, and the AUR is probably one of the best repos I've ever used. It's one of the best things, and that's why I use it. It's probably one of the reasons I use the terminal so often nowadays. So, if you need to know how much I rely on the AUR, loads of the applications I've installed are from the AUR. So, LibreWolf, Thunderbird, OnlyOffice, Scribus, Lutris, Mango HUD, Kitty, the terminal, NeoVid, DaVinci Resolve, OBS, GIMP, and all that jazz. And I just have it in a really amazing experience of AUR. The AUR, now, obviously for beginners, it can really be a really bad thing, because on Manjaro, here's a really popular stereotype. A Linux noob will go to the AUR and they will break a lot of things on Manjaro. Like, seriously. It's really common. Because, yeah. So, the AUR is not that good for noobs because they might, install, like they can might like it's the AUR is the new. Okay, no application is outdated. Most of the AUR applications are are in the newest version, at least, or at least on the newest version. Okay, simple as that. And while that seemed like a good thing for beginners, it's going to be a bad thing because, sometimes the newest version can be buggy. So therefore, they might, have issues with the application. They might try and troubleshoot it. They might make the thing worse. And overall, it's just really bad for noobs. But for people that know what they're doing, like myself, and they know how to use the AUR, it's a really good tool. I mean, for example, a lot of applications that are really obscure, like Yahtzee, for example, they're not found anywhere. They're not found in DNF, Pac-Man. They're not found in app as well. They're really obscure. However, they're usually in the AUR. And I would say that the only package manager that could compete with the AUR is probably Nix. But to be honest, I'm really not going to tinker with Nix. Like, even if I use Arch, I'm not going to tinker with Nix. That's a whole other ball game. So let's sum up a few things. I switched to Arch because I had issues with Mango HUD. DaVinci Resolve was just really bad on Fedora, surprisingly. The AUR was just, Red Hat is just the worst company I've ever dealt with. Screw you, Red Hat. And finally, the EU are just the best thing to ever happen to Linux. So now what? Well, now this is the time where I say what would have to happen to Fedora for me to switch back to it. Number one, they find an AUR alternative. They already are kind of have this done because there is a thing called Coper, which I've heard is like the AUR version of like the Fedora version of the AUR. I mean, it has severely less package than the AUR, definitely, but I might have to stick around, Number two, they are not owned by Red Hat. This will never happen, probably, as Red Hat will probably own Fedora for, forever. And that is just a really bad thing, because I do not want Fedora to be this bad. I know a lot of people that use Fedora, and imagine if when they wake up one morning and they just see that Fedora has now opt-out telemetry. And you're probably wondering, but Mario, you can just it's called opt-out telemetry. Well, on Windows 10, it was opt-out telemetry, right? Windows 11, now it's baked in telemetry. You can't turn it off. Nuh-uh. You're going to have to use a different operating system or custom OS for that, buckaroo. So, yeah. And I do not like telemetry. I don't like opt-out telemetry, opt-in telemetry, because they will just eventually, the company that does this sort of thing, will eventually just, decide, oh, why not? Let's just switch to baked-in telemetry, because why not? What's the worst that could happen? And yeah, that's probably what's going to happen in Fedora in a few years. To be honest, the opt-out telemetry hasn't happened yet, but I think it's better if I just automatically switch to Arch before it gets too late and I have to stick with opt-out telemetry. So summing up, Fedora needs an alternative to Red Hat, an alternative to AUR, and needs to fix the Red Hat. Now, MangoHUD, there's no issues with that. I think I just messed up something, so I'm not going to leave that. However, one thing is better support for DaVinci Resolve. I know Fedora is probably one of the few distros that has the best support, but I still run into really big issues that I can only fix on Arch. So yeah, that's kind of a bummer, especially because I really would like to use Fedora. It's an actually great distribution, and if otherwise, it would be a really good distro that I would probably use if it wasn't for DaVinci Resolve not working and Coper's not really ready yet. So yeah, and in fact, Fedora is probably the distro that pushes the newest stuff. Like, Arch doesn't. I bet you, I tried. I mean, like, I could not install. I don't think Wayland Wayland does not come out of the box with Arch. Like, sure, I could install it, but Fedora, however, is pushing the new Pipewires enabled by default, where on Arch it's just Pulse Audio. Well, you can get Pipewire on Arch install. That's what I use. I use the Arch install script. I know, I'm a noob. I know, you can make fun of me. But I installed it manually. I just had issues with Bluetooth that could not let me boot into my system. Bye. So yeah, I just hope you have a great day. Bye guys, see you on the next one.